Change begins from within. As easy as it is to look outside of ourselves and want the world to change, the truth is, it never will if we remain the same. This podcast was created for changemakers like you who want more love and connection in your community. Today, you are going to hear stories that will inspire you and also challenge you to be the change. We are going to go deep, my friend. So take a deep breath and settle in. My name is Emilia Tamburini. Welcome to the Circle of Change. Hey there, friend. Welcome to episode 40. That feels big and juicy and amazing. I am celebrating that I'm here, you're here, and we're doing this together sitting in circle. From the Kindness Circle tour, I'm getting so much feedback that people want to be gathered in this way more and more frequently. And I am delighted to hear that because it is such a nurturing way to be, creating spaces for everybody's voice to be heard, honoring that each and every one of us is a knowledge keeper, and allowing us to take responsibility for what it is that we create in the world. It is magic, and it is what the world needs right now. So thank you so much for being here, for sitting in this circle with me. I am delighted to have you here. It lights me up. This episode is going to be a little bit different in that I'm going to read to you the latest newsletter that I sent out. I send out a monthly newsletter via humconsulting.ca. You are welcome to go sign up for it. I'm reading it to you for two reasons. First of all, I know that I have a slightly different audience, the podcast and the newsletter. And I really want you to hear these words because we're getting such a profound response. It feels like people need to hear these words. And so I want to share them to you. And if you are a newsletter subscriber, then you get to hear my voice reading this to you. And that might land in a certain way or a different way, which might be kind of cool. I also want to read this to you as a way to let you know that I do have this newsletter. So if you do want to tap in to me and what I'm up to in the world and receive these notes of encouragement, these words that help you to shift your perspective, then please go to humconsulting.ca and sign up for the newsletter. I come to your inbox once a month. You'll also get to hear more about what I'm up to in community, which for me is really exciting. And I'll share with you a little bit about that today, particularly the Kindness Circle. I know I keep mentioning it, but not really explaining it. We have been out in community and the response to the Kindness Circle has been absolutely amazing. Amazing. It is lighting my heart up. And I know we're making a real difference in the lives of people. And for me, that is why I'm here. So life is good, my friend. Let us settle in to this space, to this present moment, to now. So take a deep breath. If you want to close your eyes, if you're in a safe space to do so, feel free to do that. Breathe in through your nose, belly rise. And let anything go that is not serving you in this moment. And I invite you to keep focusing on your breath as I read these words from one of my favorite authors, Paulo Coelho. This is an excerpt from his book, The Alchemist. This is one of those books that I could read over and over and over again, and I think I'm not alone in that. This particular excerpt, I think, relates to the words that I will share with you later on. The boy continued to listen to his heart as they crossed the desert. He came to understand its dodges and tricks, and to accept it as it was. He lost his fear and forgot about his need to go back to the oasis, because one afternoon his heart told him that it was happy, Even though I complain sometimes, it said, it's because I'm the heart of a person, and people's hearts are that way. People are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel that they don't deserve them or that they'll be unable to achieve them. We, their hearts, become fearful just thinking of loved ones who go away forever, or of the moments that could have been good but weren't, or of treasures that might have been found but were forever hidden in the sands. Because when these things happen, we suffer terribly. My heart is afraid that it will have to suffer, the boy told the alchemist one night as they looked up at the moonless sky. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second's encounter with God and with eternity. Every second of the search is an encounter with God, the boy told his heart. When I have been truly searching for my treasure, every day has been luminous, because I've known that every hour was part of the dream that I would find it. When I have been truly searching for my treasure, I've discovered things along the way that I never would have seen had I not had the courage to try things that seemed impossible for a shepherd to achieve. This is a beautiful excerpt from Paulo Coelho on listening to your heart. I'm going to share a bit more on that through the words of the newsletter that I sent out last week. The newsletter was titled Quiet the Noise, and it starts with a quote from Paulo Coelho. Listen to your heart. It knows all things because it came from the soul of the world, and it will one day return there. So this year, one of my top 5 goals is 30 days and 30 nights in nature. I light up when I think about it, despite the many bug bites that I acquired on my last sojourn. I am that person. If there is a creature that likes flesh, it will find its way to me, and I go anyway. I love this goal for 2 reasons. It honors that part of me that yearns to be out in the woods, and it melts away all stories I once carried about what being a business owner looks like, the latter being burning the midnight oil and taking my laptop on quote-unquote vacation. This is my journey of deconditioning, of unpacking old stories that I adopted through thousands of years of colonized, traumatized worldviews that I have been unaware of until very recently. I equate trauma with colonization because it is only through unhealed trauma that we could have created a world that separates humans from the living environment, that runs on scarcity policies, that lacks a spiritual underpinning, and continues to perpetuate this story of us versus them. This is a world run by people that feel a deep need to protect themselves, who have forgotten that everything is energy, that we are all interconnected, and that inherently we belong. That means that the majority of people in the world feel the same way. Our leaders reflect our collective consciousness, after all. All the noise of our world reflects this protectionist mentality. It's tricky to see it because it is literally woven throughout the very fabric of society and is all many of us have ever known. Business models, the news, the structure of social media platforms, stories we tell ourselves and pass down. For example, you must work hard to make a living. Our financial institutions, our education system, and our language. We have fallen into a trap of thinking that these are what they are and they will never change. But the world is changing, my friend. This is why I love the work that I do. Standing alongside elders and knowledge keepers has taught me to question everything I know. A small example are the agendas I now create. First, they're no longer agendas. They're a flow of conversation. But at the very top of the page, I no longer write meeting purpose. I write intention of this gathering. It feels different, doesn't it? To create the intention of this gathering, I think about the people coming and what would be of service to the group and what they are trying to achieve. It's not about what I want to communicate or the boxes I want checked off or even the decisions to be made. It's about humanity. It takes more time to write, but I love the process of stilling my mind and tapping into the group's consciousness. The result is pretty awesome. The intention transforms the experience from a intellectual transaction to a relational way of being with deep care for each other and what we create together. That is an example of taking something like a meeting and making it be something so much greater. We have the power to do that. For me, this is healing our trauma in action. In a setting such as this, people don't feel the need to protect themselves, so there's less defensiveness and positioning or checking out. People show up as they are and speak from their heart. In a place like that, trust is fostered and relationships deepen quite quickly. As a result, we create new possibilities and innovative, sustainable solutions because we're operating collectively as a family. And just like family, these conversations are not void of emotion or differences of opinion, quite the opposite. The difference is everyone can hear the diverse perspectives and hold the emotion while staying present and connected to the deeper purpose. Why? Because people feel secure. Vulnerability does that. It allows us to see ourselves in the other person and know that we're not alone. It allows us to feel like we belong. And from that place, we can access compassion, patience, empathy, and kindness, ways of being that are unattainable when we feel a need to protect ourselves. To do this work, we must step away from the noise. That's why I love being out in nature. There's no noise out there, just birds and frogs, the wind, the creak of the trees, and deep curiosity. Where shall I walk today? What's making that noise? Where will I find water? What food would I like to eat? What just bit me? I can sit in curiosity, not knowing outcomes, and go where I'm guided to go. It's freeing. And of course, my brain plays a part, but it follows my heart, not the other way around. And that is the point. When trauma rules, we make decisions from our head without the wisdom of our heart because it feels too dangerous to tap into that place of vulnerability and trust. With those walls built up, we think mostly of how can I protect myself, my wealth, my health, my home, my possessions, my family, my community, my business, my constituents, my kids. Until we collectively create spaces where those walls can be taken down, where we can welcome in other ways of knowing and being, we'll remain divided. It's just too risky for our brains. Part of this process is trusting that we can disconnect or at the very least question the noise. So with that, I want to leave you with some questions to explore if you're interested in seeing the world through a different lens. The questions are, what stories keep you connected to the noise? So for example, maybe you have a story that says, well, if I don't watch the news, I will be an uninformed citizen, and that's irresponsible. Question 2 is, well, are those stories true? I don't know. In this case, I don't know. I mean, this is what I've been told. Well, do you know that those stories are 100% true? Well, no, in that case. And how do you show up when you believe those stories? Well, I'm judgmental of those who don't watch the news. I think I'm a better informed than most people, and I ignore other sources of information. And what would become possible if you rewrote this story and disconnected from the noise? Well, I'd probably have more time to read and watch things that light me up and motivate me to contribute. I could get curious and learn about the world through different perspectives, and I'd likely be less stressed and feel better. These days, I am conditioning myself to find more time for noiseless spaces. It's why I'm camping on the Kindness Circle tour so that I can process and percolate and hear what is needed next. I am excited for you to explore these questions above and see what breaks loose for you. And please do let me know. There's an option to leave a voicemail on our website, and you can always email me or call me, whatever. I would love to hear from you. Keep being curious, brave warrior. There is so much that we haven't seen yet. After adding Paulo's poem to the beginning of this newsletter, what has struck me is that in The Alchemist, he refers to our hearts being scared. And in the newsletter, I refer to our brains being scared. And of course, everything is interconnected. I personally talk about the brain because I think of it as a trauma response. It's that limbic system that kicks in and gets in the way of us showing up with kindness and love and patience and compassion. It tells us that we need to protect ourselves because that's its primary function, to avoid pain and seek pleasure. And in that space, we show up in all sorts of interesting ways. Maybe it is that deep fear that keeps us away from living our full potential and giving our gifts fully and stepping into that dream, whatever it happens to be. Or maybe it is showing up with impatience or anger or rage or jealousy. These are natural human responses. And this is really what we unpack in the kindness circle. So looping back to what is that experience, we are taking communities through this process of identifying for themselves, how is it that you want to show up in the world? What is it that you're committed to? And then we look at situations and how we are being in those places where it's really tricky to be kind or to be peace or to be a source of safety, whatever that commitment is. And we look at it through this trauma-informed lens to normalize it and to have some compassion for ourselves and also for maybe some of the other reactions we are seeing out there in the world. And then we leave you with tools to take a moment and pause. So when those natural reactions come up to protect ourselves, we are retraining our brain to show up with more compassion and patience and love and what is truly important to us and who we are at our core. It's a really profound experience and also quite simple. And it's really beautiful to see people doing it together, really finding community, knowing that they're not alone, and knowing that they belong. If you are a community or represent a community organization or any sort of body that might be able to bring the kindness circle to your community, please reach out and let me know. I want to take this circle as far and wide as possible overseas. It's a global movement. That's the vision for it. And I am excited. So please get in touch. The other thing I wanted to let you know about is that if you are local to Victoria and you read Douglas Magazine, there's an article in there on page 44 called Cultivating Cultures of Belonging. And that was written by me, and I'm really excited about this article and the impact that it has. I think it provides some great tools for you in your organization or in your family or in your personal lives to really show up and be able to listen more cleanly to one another. So please go check that out. There will be an online version soon coming out, and I'll be sure to post that in my newsletter, which brings me back to the newsletter. Please sign up for that if you are interested in following me in that way. All right, Changemaker, thanks so much for being with me today. I really hope today was an encouragement to listen to your heart, to start or continue that process of deconditioning, to stepping away from the noise and really listening to that source of truth, which is inside you. We have been taught for so long that we need to seek our truth, our strength, our next step from outside of us, and it is within. Thanks for being here. Much love to you. Ciao. I'm now passing the talking piece to you. If you feel called to put your voice in the circle, please head to humconsulting.ca/podcast and share your story there. I cannot wait to hear what has come up for you as you have listened to what has been shared here today. I wish you love and joy beyond your wildest imagination. I also want to express my gratitude to the following peeps. Circle of Change is recorded on Lekwungen territories, and I am so grateful to live on this land. Our opening and closing music was created by the talented E-Roll Beats. You can find his creations at erollbeats.com. And special thanks to my coach, Mary Chan of Organized Sound Productions, for bringing this podcast to life. Until next time, ciao.